Hi everyone, welcome to Starsight. Today we're going to channel some messages about our entanglements with the perception of others. Most of us learn to look at ourselves through the eyes of our parents, our siblings, people in our immediate environment, and then that continues through life. We see ourselves through significant others, friends, colleagues, bosses. The purpose here for today's reading is not to say how to get rid of that entanglement once and for all, but to try and understand the entanglement and attempt to act more freely in the face of it. It's always going to be there, we're always going to be bound to the perception of others. But there are ways of learning to live with it differently, of learning each day for it to matter less in the way that we act and take decisions about our lives. Okay, so look at which pile sort of commands your attention, and if you need to pause the video to make your selection, do that. For those of you who've decided, see you at the reading. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words today. Alright, pile 1. Your life is a canvas. Artist, manifestation, creative accountability. So at a literal level, you may be a creative person, you may have a creative career, you may identify as an artist. Even if you do things professionally that are not exactly creative, you might bring a creative flair to how you do them. Like if you're an executive, the way you organize things, there is something very magical about it or something very artistic about it. A task that was supposed to be drab and dull and mundane, something in how you treat it changes its quality. Energetically, I feel like, and this can be your energy check, so if you don't resonate with what I'm about to say, this might not be your pile. Energetically, this feels like a person who tells themselves often that other people don't matter to them, that how they think and how they judge me, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm going to do. It feels more like an assertion rather than an actual capacity to act independently of others. I'm sorry if this sounds negative or insulting. That's not my purpose here. I just want to simply read the energies without judgment. So I'm not here judging you for saying one thing and perhaps feeling differently. It's just what feels really true to me energetically with this pile and with this card. So there's a lot of assertion of independence, but it's not quite real. I spent a long time in academia, and there used to be a lot of scholars who used to claim a rebel status for themselves. Like, I think very differently, none of you are going to agree with me, I'm breaking from tradition in ABC ways. And at the same time, those were the people who were very affected by other people's readings of their work, other people's reactions to their work. They were often the people who needed other scholars to have a kind of cult worship of them, or a sort of allegiance to them without any contradictions, without any conflicts. So it feels like that kind of an energy here, where on the surface the belief is that one is independent, but under the surface there is a lot of reliance on other people's feelings towards you. Okay, so now if this does not resonate, this will not be your pile. Okay, for those of you brave souls who are ready to hear this difficult message, let's look at the other cards. It's feeling especially like you are sensitive to other people's feelings towards you. So they may, like perceptions and feelings are slightly different. So they may perceive you in whatever way, but if they feel positively towards you. So for example, let's say that they perceive you as someone who needs more guidance, but their feeling towards you is that of fondness and affection, then you're okay with it. It does not feel condescending to you. But if it's someone who actually perceives you as a worthy rival of some kind, but then doesn't actually love you or like you, that bothers you. That even if their perception of you is respectful, if they don't feel positively towards you, that is jarring to you. The World, the Three of Cups, the Seven of Coins in reverse. Yeah, I think that at some point, something happened. Let's say that you got a really good job, or you reached a particular status professionally, or you managed to cultivate several good friendships around you. Something happened that made you feel like you're done, like only the right people are around you now. You don't really care about the rest of the world. You don't depend on other people's perceptions anymore. Something concrete happened in your life that you took as a sign that you don't need other people's approval anymore. You don't need them to feel positively towards you anymore the way you used to in the past. And that is definitely coming through, that you've already come a long way, pile one. So you have definitely moved from a previous psychic position where it was really difficult for you to even function if you heard something negative about yourself. It's no longer that debilitating, but there is still something core, something really essential to you that is tied to other people's feelings about you. I feel like whatever circle of friends or loved ones that you've established, which is also an achievement, it's a relational achievement, you rely on that fact. Like, I have 5 really good friends, or I have a very committed partner, I have a really committed family. You rely on that fact to tell yourself that anyone outside of that circle doesn't matter to me, which is good. But how you depend on the people inside the circle, that is also something to think about, right? So, okay, anyone beyond these 10 people don't matter to me, but if these 10 people are not allowed to feel angry towards me, or I feel really badly if they have even the slightest negative feeling towards me, all of that is hampering your growth. All of that is interfering with the various possibilities that are available to you in any given moment. Because you might want at a particular point to move in a direction that other people can't fully understand. Even if these are loved ones that you trust, sometimes they're not able to simply understand what we need to do. And that's not because they don't love us or don't have our best interests at their heart. It's just everyone is functioning in their own limits, right? And so they might simply say to you, I don't feel good about this, but go ahead. And in 6 months, they could come around and say, you did the right thing. But in that moment where they say, I don't feel good about this, that could be something that affects you deeply. And to the point, it appears to me, like again, from the cards energetically, that it affects you so deeply that you don't even come up with these directions in your mind that you think are going to be opposed by others. Like you are not even able possibly to say to your own self, I'd like to try that. If you have the slightest intuition that someone in your inner circle is not going to feel positively towards it. So pile 1, you've done a really good job in terms of moving, like narrowing whose perceptions matter to you. That's a great thing that you've done. And now the next stage of this evolution is to even change your reliance on your inner circle and their feelings towards you. There's a conflict averse energy here. Like the other people, you've simply moved away from them, but the ones close to you, conflict is very hard for you. You want it to be good and flowing and everyone always in touch with the higher dimension and the big picture here. Like, I love you, you love me. Let's simply stay anchored in that fact. But the truth of relationships is that there's a lot of everyday mundaneness that happens that seems almost disconnected from the big picture. Like getting, for example, someone you're very close to is on their deathbed, and even they can irritate you, though you know that they're possibly on the doorstep of life itself, and it tears you apart to think of their absence, to even imagine what it is going to be like for you, and still they can manage to irritate you in this very funny, everyday, bitter, absurd, ridiculous way. So it's like that. There is so much to relationships in terms of their life, in terms of their everydayness, that is not anchored in the big picture. That's why they're often so hard, because you love them, they love you, and yet you manage to wreck each other and hurt each other over the slightest of things. Now, you, for whatever reason, perhaps it is your early childhood, relational history, your own self-image or worries or fears, for whatever reason, this everydayness, this up and down in a relationship of communication, of attention, all of that could be really hard for you to tolerate. And one way you could be managing that is by staying always on the good side of the people in your inner circle. So not doing things that they wouldn't like, not pursuing paths that they wouldn't feel positively about. But in doing this, yes, you are possibly maintaining peace, but there's also a kind of stifling happening of your own creative energy. We started with that card, right? And so you could find that, especially at this moment, that your creative energies feel a little bit stagnant for a few months or even years, and you might be doing a lot of things to help yourself along, but possibly the source of that creative stagnation could be in your relationship patterns, in your relationship styles, because you are foreclosing a huge part of yourself trying to stay on the good side of your inner circle. Your creative energies are also correspondingly functioning in a very limited way. It's like if I'm writing a novel, I need access to my entire range of experience, and also a range of experience that is not mine. Now, if I keep to a really limited bit, even in my own experience, I'm not going to be able to write about life. I'll barely be able to write about myself. You know, the work that you've done in the past about distancing yourself from anyone who's not your inner circle, anyone who you do not trust, it was successful, right? You've managed to now create an inner circle, but the work that you now need to do, if you are interested in further liberation, for some reason it just fills you up with a lot of terror. Let's see if we get some clues about why that is. Deep cellular healing. Yeah, now the healing has to go much, much deeper. The grade 7, Mars energy, anger, conflict, softening to love. This is where the terror is. Karmic relationships. Look at that, pile 1. Look at that. Okay. I trust that you're listening to this message with discernment, with intention, and with consciousness. So whatever resonates for you, whatever feels right to you, is something that you are accepting with conscious intention, and not just treating everything that's being said here as your truth, right? This is a general reading, first of all, and these are messages that are supposed to help you discover your truth. So take what I'm about to say as that, as a nudging towards your own truth rather than the truth itself. In terms of the cards, what I see is that there has been a level of people pleasing in your relationships, even with your inner circle, that might have poisoned the well a little bit. It may not be all the people in your inner circle, maybe one person, maybe two, but with them it's become over time so distorted that you might find that when you're with them, you're actually not yourself. That you have to try really hard to maintain the person that you've assured them you are. Okay? Now, the reason that you feel terrified to continue working on your reliance on other people's perceptions and feelings is that something inside of you knows that if you start doing this work, some of those people you are going to say goodbye to. Some of those people you're going to want to end your relationship with them. And this is terrifying, right? Because you've built that inner circle with great labor, and both emotional and relational. Like, you've worked really hard with yourself, with others, to build that secure circle of beings who you can trust and who you love. And I don't think that these people with whom the relationship has soured at this level of, your inner comfort with them, I don't think you don't love them. I don't think you don't trust them. But it's just over time, they've come to understand you in a particular way, but that's not you. That is a version of you that's just become solidified in the context of that relationship. Maybe it was you at some point, but you have changed, you have grown, but the self that maintains that relationship hasn't. So if this has been on your mind, even subconsciously, consider this a big confirmation that your relationships, even the inner circle relationships, need some honesty and need some work. This might just be a fear that you have to break away from them. Maybe if you start being more truthful, or you start expressing yourself more openly, maybe they'll get on board. Maybe they don't actually need this solid self that you've constructed over years. Maybe they're much more okay with the idea of you growing and changing than you think. So definitely the relationships in the inner circle need work in terms of how you present to those relationships. Now, if this is something like prejudice, so if you are, let's say, not straight, if you are queer in some way, and you know that some people in your inner circle are homophobic or are very are hostile, very or not, little or more, it's pretty much, hostility is hard, pretty much. So if you know that someone in your inner circle would be hostile to what is your truth, like you know it, then it is time to accept that, pile one. You don't need to continue masking. You might instead want to try and start accepting the truth about the other people in your life. You can try with them. Maybe the fact that it is you who is embodying an aspect of humanity that they feel negatively towards, maybe that's going to change them. Maybe they're going to see that there's nothing wrong with embodying this particular aspect of humanity. But whatever it is, that risk will have to be taken of you embodying the self that you experience in yourself. And I know that this is tricky because I feel like you've built those barriers even in your head. Whatever you think will not be given love by others, it's almost like you can't access those parts yourself. So this is going to be something to do over time. Yeah, this is the next stage of healing that is indicated here, pile one, about you expressing yourself more honestly in the moment, even if that momentary self is also constantly changing. That is fine, but as long as you're true to what's happening inside of you in the moment, that is going to lead you to a path of much deeper healing, both relationally and also in terms of your relationship to your own self. Let's see any big picture guidance that might come through here. Yeah, there is history of abandonment here that could be very significant. Again, my sense is again that you might have felt like you've worked through this already. And pile one, this is not to say that the work that you did in the past is incomplete or not good enough. It's more like you're ready for the next level. Okay, so even if you've released some important, significant abandonment wounds, especially wounds that you incurred from parent figures or adults when you were growing up, you may have released one aspect of them, one layer of them, and now it's time to release other deeper layers. This work is going to take time, just the way it takes time to grow a tree. You're also going to cultivate through this work of understanding why you mask in your personal relationships. As you do that work, as you explore your reasons, how it appears to you, you're going to cultivate a whole new perspective on yourself as a child, on your childhood, on your growing up experiences, what you received from others, what you didn't. you know, your parents or your caregivers may not have abandoned you in the sense of left you alone in a crisis, but there might have been like a regular kind of abandonment where they may have been engaged with other things in their life much more viscerally and much more emotionally, with a lot more presence than they were involved with you. So it might have felt like they're there, but they're not really there, you know, that they're there and they're listening to me and they're telling me, supporting me, but at some deeper emotional level, they're not there, which is why the feelings of other people towards you is so, they are so important, because that was the lack that you experienced growing up. They might have been there in all the ways, all practical ways. They might have provided for you to the best of their ability, guided you when you asked for it, but they might not have been there emotionally, affectionately, looking at your face and knowing what you need. You know, that kind of emotional attunement might have been lacking. So as you do this work, you're going to be able to both understand your own experience better and also release some of those feelings of panic and bitterness and terror that you might have felt as a child alone emotionally. Alright, Palwan, I know that this was a difficult message, and if you're still listening, I am so happy to have you here on my channel, because this kind of readiness to do deep, difficult, serious inner work is what drives me in my work as a tarot reader and an astrologer and a healer. This is why I do it, because I believe that healing is possible no matter how serious our wounding is. But the process of healing is difficult. It's really hard. It's tough. And sometimes we have to steel ourselves to do the work of healing. So to me, if you're still here, it says that you're ready for it. And I'm sending you so much respect and love. Okay? All the best with this work, Pile 1. Alright, Pile 2, Inner Earth. You will survive this. I'm reading the words on this card. New solutions and beginnings. Yeah, so straight away I am getting energies here who've suffered a setback recently, or even if the setback was not in the recent past, it's still very fresh in your mind, in your energy field. So consider this a kind of energy check. If that doesn't resonate for you, this might not be the pile for you. Okay. Yeah, this feels really brutal, this setback. I mean, you are handling it beautifully. So it feels really brutal, the actual thing that happened, but it seems like you're being very patient with the situation and with yourself. Like you are willing to see it play out rather than act out of any sense of panic or fear or urgency. Like, though the situation is dire, you are intentionally slowing yourself down so that you can see the situation more clearly. That's amazing, Pile 2. That is amazing. That's that's a big spiritual achievement right there. Intentionally slowing yourself down so that you can see the situation more clearly, because you know that whatever has happened has activated important multiple wounds within you that have to do with your sense of self and self-worth, and also anxieties about the future. These could be anxieties that are also about resources. So this might have been a setback at the level of your career, at the level of your earning capacities. If there is some debt here, there might have been a setback in that realm, like they've suddenly increased the interest or something. This feels really, whatever's happened feels really difficult, which is why your poise and your slowness in getting acquainted with all the details of the problem is really something to be proud of. I don't feel like in this moment there's much space in you for pride. I think you're just very humbly doing your best in staying upright. I feel like I want to cry. It's like I hear you saying to me, like, this is not a spiritual achievement, this is the only thing I can do, which is just move day to day, experience one day at a time, because there is nothing else to do. But prior to that, believe me, that is an achievement to even be able to be able to say that even. Oh. Yeah, so the words here, you'll survive this, I absolutely interpret this as your guides coming in to say, first of all, confirmation that this is really rough, but also that this is you're going to be able to resolve this in a very different way than you imagine. Like, the solution is going to be quite removed from how you imagine the situation right now or how you see the crisis right now. And it will come in due time, because inner earth is doing the work inside first, and then it will call forth developments in the outer world all by itself. Like, you won't have to chase the solution, you won't have to look for things. Once the inner earth is prepared, inner earth is fertilized, inner earth is ready to receive the solution will walk to you. So I hope that brings you some relief, that focus on what you need to do in the moment, rather than thinking about what is going to happen. Bring the focus back to what can you do. And even if it's something like one day at a time, that is enough. It goes a long way. We think that we're just preparing to actually act, but that is acting itself. Passivity is one of the most difficult spiritual acts that we can perform as human beings. Yeah, so I feel like whatever has occurred has absolutely activated wounding around how other people perceive you. There could be a big event of misrecognition or misunderstanding here, where people that you formerly relied on to see you accurately didn't, or people that you thought are in touch with who you are weren't. There's some exposure that has happened of other people in your life, where you've realized that the way they perceive you is radically different from how you thought they perceived you. And it's opened like a whole chasm. Is that the right pronunciation? Chasm, I'm going to say. Please don't correct me in the comments, okay? I'm happy with however I pronounce my words. Just letting you know in advance. I hate I hate it when people do that. Please, this is a total segue, but please understand that people across the world speak very different kinds of Englishes, and whatever English you speak, it's great, and it does not have to be shared by others. Yeah, okay, so chasm. Sorry about that, Paltu. I felt like I had to say that. Okay, so it feels like a chasm has opened within you where you feel like now you can't trust anyone to see you in a way that is aligned with your own self-image. So this may be, you may be someone who doesn't exactly rely on other people's perceptions to understand yourself. Like you're pretty self-sufficient in terms of your self-image, but this big event of misrecognition has actually thrown your relational judgment into question. Like the people that I think I can trust, it turns out I couldn't. So why did I mess that up? There is a little bit of that kind of a, why couldn't I prevent this feeling? I should have protected myself better. I left myself open to destruction. High Priestess in reverse, the Seven of Cups, and the Empress. The Seven of Cups is all about mistaken identity. It's about choice, and it's also about mistaken identity. So there's 7 cups here. Some of those cups have real treasures, and the other cups have snakes, they have snails, which means if you pick the snail, then whatever your project is slows down considerably. Or if you pick these pearls, they're actually false pearls. There are very few things in these cups that are real, that are positive, that are supportive. Everything else is actually destructive. There are hidden enemies here. And I feel like that's what's happened. Like suddenly the people that you trusted have been exposed as enemies of some kind. I don't feel like these are evil people. I think there's just some, like, you represent some limit of their own imagination, some limit of their own understanding of the world. So it's not like they were trying to harm you, but they just couldn't see you beyond a point, beyond their own frameworks of how things are or should be. But it's just, these cards are extremely positive here, and if you've actually worked with me, you know that I am not a kind of reader that cares at all about whether a message is quote unquote positive or negative. Like, I think sometimes it's the negative messages that we need much more than assurances and good news and encouragement, etc. So I'm not saying this to make you feel better. It's really, I hope it does though. It's what's really coming across is that you are rising from this event. You may not be able to see this pile to right now because at the moment you're in the throes of grief. But this is a rags to riches moment that you're going to think back on and be absolutely amazed at what you're able to extract out of this setback, what you're going to be able to create of your own self after this experience. It's going to be astonishing to you. I do have to say that it's going to take a little bit of time. Like, the Empress has a child in their arms, possibly a child that has just been born. So there is going to be a gestation period here that may feel really difficult. You know, it's 9 months technically for human babies, but most mothers I know have been really um, like really tired by month 8, and then counting days before they can actually deliver the child. And so there might be that kind of a quality to your own gestation period. I don't think it's 9 months, I think it's more than that, but whatever it is, it may feel at times like, oh, I can't do this anymore, how long is it going to take, the end is not in sight. You might have a lot of back and forth, like, is this the right path? All of that is part of it. I feel like you are through this event, after this event, you're embarking on a path of self creation that is just, it is unprecedented. It is self-making that is independent in the highest possible sense. Like, you are letting go. You will be letting go. Is that right? You will be releasing all kinds of conditioning and reliance on things that you've learned from others. I do feel though that this is going to be, it's going to demand a lot out of you, Pile 2, like a lot out of you. Faith in yourself and faith in your path. And I mean, you are listening to tarot readings, so I'm assuming that you are in touch with a concept of divinity, whatever that is for you, God, spirit, soul, guides. But I would recommend that you cultivate that relationship more intentionally with whatever you consider to be divinity, because that will anchor you, that will support you even when nothing around you feels like it's recognizing the work that you're putting in yourself. Because that is the problem with self-making. Other people don't recognize it when it's happening, because most people around us are making themselves through accepted paradigms. And so when you're creating your own paradigm for a while there, no one can see what you're actually doing until you are somewhat at the end of 1 arc, or you manage to reach a particular position in that path. Till then, it's just you, like you're doing right now, one day at a time. You can't see in the distance, you have to only rely on whatever's around you, And so that journey is going to be hard, but you'll be able to anchor yourself in it better, more strongly, if you have some working relationship with divinity. Both of these are Venus cards, and the High Priestess is a moon card. So lots of feminine energy here, where the next bit of your journey may not be about, okay, now I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to, go after. Basically, yeah, it's like it's not about you going and getting another degree or something. It's more about just tuning into the energy here. It's more about you anchoring yourself where you are. I know that sounds abstract, which is why I was trying to get sort of other sentences to express that. It feels like it's not the time to make big moves. It's more the time to consolidate what you already have. Okay, so let's say that you lost a job or were laid off. Okay, instead of trying to land the perfect job, you might want to take up whatever is available around you, even if it's not of your caliber. Okay? Even if it's not of the level of training or compensation that you should be getting at this point. Treat it more like a transitional period where you do some work that feels good, that feels somewhat enjoyable, that is practical, at least pays some of the bills. But then you wait for something to crystallize within you. Some becoming needs to happen within you. And then you will know when the time is right. Then make the big move that you might want to at a later stage. This will all intuitively make sense as you start doing this work, pile 2. Even if right now it feels like I don't get it, you will know what I mean in a month or 2 months. A new earth, look at that. A new earth, it's happening. Keep holding the vision. Don't even need to explain that. Breath of the cosmos, my will to thy will, micromanaging the universe. Yes, do not do that. Work on yourself. Whatever's available around you, make the best use of that. That is what the Empress does, you know. The Empress is not masterful like the Emperor who creates conditions of fulfillment and success. No. The Empress works with whatever's available and grows things that are growable in that particular soil. So that's what you are encouraged to do. Look around, whatever resources you have, even if they're very humble, even if they're very small, use them. Jump in. Andromedan energy, adventure, say yes to change. This really aligns for me with the example that I was giving you earlier about just if this is in the realm of career, take up a job that right now feels like, okay, I want to do this, but it may not have anything to do with your general chosen field. You may think this might not add to my resume in any real way, but that's exactly what you need, pile 2. It's like when I was writing my dissertation and for years I felt like I couldn't do it. What actually unlocked my brain juices, my heart, was reading stuff that had nothing to do with my dissertation. And then I was flowing. But for a long time, I kept reading things that were actually killing me inside. But I thought, I have to read this to be able to do the things that I have to do. And that's the kind of thing here. Like, take up something at this time based on your practical considerations. So take up something at this time that actually makes you feel excited or makes you feel like, yes, curious. Yes, curious. Something that makes you feel curious and open and just humbly interested in trying something new. Let's see some big picture guidance here. History and light. Yeah, you're going to need some time to release the perceptions of your former, it feels like colleagues, but it can be anyone who was in that area of setback in your life, could be personal. But in general, it feels like whatever setback you experienced was professional. So that's true. It's going to take you a while to free yourself from their perceptions. It's this emotionally, this goes much deeper than you think. The hurt already is very deep, but it's even deeper. Okay, look at this light here. It's very deep, the hurt. So it's going to take you some time to free yourself from what happened. Take that time. Let yourself grieve in as many ways for as long as it needs to. Because that grieving is your path of self-making. That grieving is going to be how you cultivate independence. It's not going to happen by you saying, okay, I don't care about you anymore. It has to be real. The detachment has to be real inside of you. And the journey from attachment to detachment, very hard, takes a lot out of us. But that is the journey that is going to create you in a whole new way. This is beautiful but hard work, pile 2. I'm sending you my best and my love too. All right, pile 3. You're not alone. Isolation, physical connection, community. Actually, paradoxically, this feels like someone who is alone. So consider this an energy check. If what I say about this card right now, it doesn't resonate for you, this may not be the pile for you. So what I'm getting energetically is that you are someone who actually feels really alone. I mean, no, let me amend that. You don't feel alone, you are alone. Actually, at the level of feeling, you kind of feel supported by forces that are bigger than human beings. Like, you may not have people around you who support you or understand you, but in some curious way, their absence is a good thing, because relational stuff is all often distracting, and the absence of actual human beings around you who support you has opened you up to more divine presences. So you may be very close to your guides, you may be very close to soulmate energies who are not here incarnated with you, you may be close to deities or gods that you connect with. It can be something also like you feel very close to certain books, or imagining the writers of those books, even if they're not alive anymore. There is a whole network of community around you that is not human beings. That's amazing. That's amazing, pile 3. So you are alone, but you aren't, you aren't. And this may be something that you have trouble explaining to other human beings. I don't feel at all like the people who are actually around you are negative or have any destructive intentions towards you. I think they just don't understand you. I think you're just marching to a very different beat, and they're not there with you. So they might actually try and help you in whatever way they can, but it's just like there is some unbreachable gap of understanding between you. And I feel like you have matured, like your feelings about this gap are no longer those of abandonment or rejection. Like, you understand completely inside of you, emotionally, intellectually, that people around you do not mean to reject you or abandon you or hurt you in any way. It's just like there's something they can't see about you. They speak a different language, you speak a different language, and you've done the work to release them from expectations. But as you've done that, you've also opened yourself to all other kinds of support and community. This is so beautiful, my God. Yeah, you could be someone who does time travel, you could be someone who connects to presences that are beyond this dimension. And I trust, if this is you, then I trust that you know the difference between good good spirits and more extractive spirits, and you know how to protect yourself, etc. All right, so then how are you bound to the perception of others? 4 of Coins in reverse, Ace of Swords in reverse, Ten of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, it's become a little bit like a self-fulfilling prophecy here. That's what they're saying. So pile 3, you have consistently experienced humans who don't understand you. Okay, so no one would blame you for thinking that that's what it's always going to be. But your guides are coming in to say that a very important part of your life, a very important arc of your journey of self-individuation, of self-realization is now complete. During that arc, yes, you had to discern who is on your frequency or who's able to see you and who wasn't. You were supposed to do exactly the thing that you did, which was to separate yourself from whoever you recognized as not recognizing you. You did that perfectly well. You were also supposed to open yourself up to divinity, which also you did. But now is a difficult part of the journey coming up, which is to again open yourself up to human community, to beings who are incarnated here and now with you. The thing is, right now it feels like you're really closed, and so there are beings that are wanting to connect with you in this dimension. I don't feel like they're there in your life yet. Like, this is all happening energetically at the moment. They're trying to build an energetic path to get to your life. All of that is still in formation based on what I'm seeing energetically right now. So they're in the process of building a material path towards you, towards connecting with you in quote-unquote real life. But your closedness is kind of slowing it down a little bit. Okay, now the solution here is not for you to say now, okay, I am open, come in. It's about actually understanding your closure and organically working it open rather than through your mind. Okay? So don't worry, don't think that you're harming yourself, not at all. It's just like a process, right? Like sometimes when I'm cooking, I need to cut my vegetables a little slowly, and instead of taking 30 minutes, I'll take 40. It doesn't really make a difference in terms of when I eat and what happens to my body and what nourishment I can take from it. So it's a little bit like that. Like, don't worry about how much time you need. Just be really organic and grounded about it. So figure out where in you there might be a block towards now reopening yourself to humans, or even the idea that there could actually be humans who understand you, who are part of your soul tribe, because you've worked so well with your alienation, pile 3, that part of how you've done that is to tell yourself, this is done. Like, this is over once and for all. Like, I'm closing this avenue of fantasy and dream and hope that I will ever have XYZ in the form of human beings. It could even be romantic love, could even be family, definitely friends. So now is the time to work on opening yourself to newer possibilities of human community, which may feel a little bit painful to reopen that, but I feel like it's just a matter of doing it, you know, like all the hard work is already, you've done it, it's done, and now this is just going to be a little bittersweet. It doesn't feel like a long thing here, but I feel in terms of the central question of our reading today, how and why are you tied to the perception of others? I don't think it's exactly that you're tied to other people's perceptions. I think you're tied to your perceptions of others. Like necessarily you've had to think other people don't understand me, and waiting for it to happen, waiting for the recognition is actually killing me. And so right now the question is how you're tied to your perception of others, and how that needs to be a little more fluid, a little more in the moment, a little more open. Like instead of thinking no one will get it, look at the people around you and judge in the moment. A doesn't get it, B gets it 50%, C gets it 43%. E gets all of me. You know? So that kind of thing. Messenger, Sirius energy, bringing harmony and balance. The seas of Mintaka, seeing potential, bringing unconsciousness to light. And star bathing, light body, crystal grid, transmission, activation. This next era of soul tribe relationships, it's just going to revitalize your life in wild ways. It's going to feel so activating. Like, you know, I think, who was it? I think it's Chani Nicholas. So she's an American Hellenistic astrologer, a Latina queer astrologer. And she often talks about how her work, her life, just like the directions that opened up, the opportunities that started knocking on her door after she met her wife. Like she often talks about how meeting her wife, it's just not just about her feeling loved and her feeling good after meeting her. It was like her life changed. You know, like the shape of who then entered her field, what kind of directions opened, what kind of opportunities came through for her without her needing to chase them. Like everything changed. It feels like that. Pile 3. This next era of community, of soul tribe relationships, and even if it's just one, even if it's just 3, we don't need 47 soul tribe relationships. We just need those few that's all. You know, it's like our relationship to divinity singular. You don't need multiple deities to feel secure. It's like that. Yes, it's going to revitalize your life in a way that you cannot imagine yet. But I feel like one of the ways you can do this work of opening up organically right now is actually, you know, try and communicate with the people who are already around you, who you know are not your soul tribe, but also you sort of have some understanding of them, right? Like you don't have the same expectations of them like you had before. So now with these revised expectations, knowing they won't understand all of you, whatever limited frame of understanding you can share, try that. You know, try modes of relating that you haven't tried before. So for example, just recently I was talking with some of my friends that it's very hard for me to have casual friendships. Like my friendships sooner or later turned really serious and intense, and I like that. That is what feels good to me. But if I were pile 3, my advice to myself was actually try modes of relating that I don't think I would like casual friendships, like just going to events and having a chat with a stranger. That might really help you shift things within. I feel like the relationships that are coming it's just going to extract something really magical and whole out of you. Like, you've been working, of course, on yourself and on your life, but you probably don't know how much work you've done, you know, because it's all been internal. As when these relationships come in, it's like this internal work will be in play with those relationships, and you will be seeing through the relational mirror how much you've grown. Mintaka is also, I think, in New Age lore. Mintaka is a planet that has been totally destroyed by galactic wars. And so if you're Mintakan, if your soul has a Mintakan origin or has had experience on Mintaka, you can never return to that originary place. And it's also a planet that is purely water. So it's like that you can never return to that womb, to that place of home, real true home. And you may have felt that in this lifetime with your relationships, pile 3. That's changing. Your home, your relational home is on its way to you. I'm so excited. I wish that I could see the look on your face when those people come into your life and those relationships enter your material awareness. Light, big picture guidance here, and light. Yeah, look at that. 2 people journeying together. It's almost like they're looking at this, they're looking at these trees. But there's also some, like the sky is painted in a way that it feels like there's an orb of light that is separate from the rest of the sky. When these relationships come in, pile 3, you're going to feel so connected to your own path. Like you're going to have such a resurgence of faith in everything that you went through, everything that you experienced, even the bad bits. It's going to feel like I went through those bad bits to get here. It's going to feel very grounding. So yes, it's not you who's tied to the perception of others, but you may have some hardened perceptions about others. And it's time now, because of the work you've done, to now work on softening those perceptions, to start cultivating receptivity towards others. Not blind receptivity, everyone's welcome, but considered, calibrated, intentional receptivity. Expectations that are in line with reality rather than expectations that come from an emotional body that experiences a lack. That's you, pile 3. That's for you. Take care, sending you a lot of love.